Hi guys, this is a video for myself, for my future self, on the Solfeggietto by C.P.E. Bach. I would like to keep this piece in my repertoire, but I know that you cannot keep everything in your repertoire, so probably in a few months a lot of the things I learned now will be forgotten, and probably one day I will want to relearn this piece. So I have this video with just a bunch of things that I want to remember, things my teacher mentioned and things also that I realized myself that might be helpful, like for example when to look at a certain note to get the transition smoother, to help myself, or how I practiced a certain difficult spot. So I'm not a teacher, but I hope or think that this video could probably be also helpful for you if you're learning this on your own without a teacher, because some things, they are just interesting, what you mentioned, or how the sound is supposed to be, or some difficult spots, how you can get them smoother, or what practice routines you could probably do to increase speed with this piece a little bit. Just a disclaimer, I cannot play everything that I want to address properly yet, so this is also for my future self to know on which points I should still be working on. The first thing is the key touch. This is between Baroque and early classical, so the notes should be a tiny bit detached. They should not smudge into each other. So don't play this, but play it a little bit clearer, like this. To achieve this kind of sound, it is necessary to activate the fingertips and to actively attack the keys, actively grab with your fingers instead of with your wrist weight or your arm weight. So with Chopin, I would just use a lot of hand circles and just shift my weight with my hand. And so I neglected a lot my active fingertips. And this is something my teacher kept talking about for, I think, at least a year. He always says, activate your fingertips, whatever I play. And I never exactly knew what he meant until now with this piece. So it is a little bit like when you have something lay here and you grab it with one finger. Okay, so this is a deliberate active action. Pressing down out of your joints here. The thing that like an anchor in my body, like something that I can remember again and again and again to know that I'm doing it right, is it feels like a spider that is crawling. So you know, when you, as a child, you do something like this, just this walking motion, and usually you can do this by having contact with the floor. So when you have the contact point here, there's a lot of power, a lot of force that you have to either push or drag. And this is something that happens here as well. This really feels like I'm dragging myself over here. I am doing actively something. It's not just like I'm moving my arm and the fingers fall into place. So that's my fingers fall into place. When I do it controlled, it's deliberate motion here. Second thing important is that most of the time in this piece, unless to the second half or third, most of the time this piece, it has just one voice. You do not have two keys ring the same time. And we are transferring the melody from one hand to the other all the time. So make sure that you do not stay in the keys. So this is wrong. Right is out. Only one note at a time. Okay, what I did now is wrong. So my teacher wants me to stay as close as possible, hovering over the keys. So already almost in touch with the keys. And this is something I cannot do yet. So I still have a lot of way to go from the air to the key. And the reason why he wants me to be so close to the keys is because then each attack has the same distance. It helps you with evenness. It's not like one finger has this way and the other just this one here. The emphasis is always on the 1 and the 3, like usual in 4/4 time. Except with the last phrase, we kind of like skip the 3 a little bit because it is to be seen as one big phrase. So this is 1, emphasize, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and now we play softer. So the scale run does not get an extra emphasis because it still belongs to the phrase before. Okay, so then we're here, and this is the first time where something a little bit more difficult happens. So this was all C minor, so make sure you practice the C minor harmonic and melodic scales, because this scale run here is melodic downwards, which is weird because usually we learn that melodic is played upwards. Yeah, so but CPE Bach doesn't care. And then there's the first modulation part starting, and always when we go from the scale part to the modulation, something is a little bit more difficult, more tricky, because there are some huge leaps occurring and something is changing. So these are the difficult parts to practice. So the first one happens after the scale run in C minor. Then we have a C minor chord going down in both hands. So this is C minor, and here is C minor. So make sure you see the chord, realize that it is C minor. And to me, what seemed to be difficult was to hit the black key with my third finger. So this is where I need more concentration. So I focus the C with my eyes, and then I focus the black key to make sure that I definitely hit the black key with the third finger, and then usually the other fingers fall in place. So it's important to focus on the black key and the C. And then after I press the black key, my eyes go to the right side so that I have time enough to find the starting note. And then again, I spot the black key to make sure I press it correctly. So after I stroke this black key, the E flat, I look at the left side to make sure I find my starting note here. And this is something so very important with this piece. You need to practice when to look where, and you need to practice when to move your hand without playing. So it is important to practice the notes that you are not playing yet, because sometimes you need already to be in a certain position, because if you're too late, you can't make it in time, because you have to look at your hand probably on your right hand. You still have one bar left, but you look on the right hand for the whole bar. So if your hand is not already in place, the chances are very high that you mess up. But probably you had 2 bars before where you had enough time to move your hand to this position. So this is one of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I look to find my position here. Then I have the F. And then we have an F chord. No, this is not F. This is B. The same here as well. So it's the same game again. We have the same chord in both hands, but make sure that you find the starting notes. And here for me it was very confusing which notes belong to the chord. So I focus on the F, because this is what messes my playing up. I remember that I have to start here, but then it's like, oh, which note? No, and then I'm wrong. So I definitely need to think about the F. F. Then I play it without looking, so that I can again leap over there and remember the black key. Then we have a G, and then this thing here, it feels like a paddling, like a penguin walking. So it's 1 E and the 2 E and the 3 E. So this is the motion that I make, and I used to to really emphasize this in my body. So I know this part is coming and then I'm like moving, wiggling around with my whole body, because it helps me to make sure that the notes that are changing are a little louder, a little more prominent, so that we can hear the top notes, and this makes it a lot nicer. So after we had this, it goes again with the G minor. So also it's nice to practice G minor, harmonic and melodic. And then again we have a transition. Here it is so important to know when to move your hands without playing notes. So important. Okay, and there are 2 black keys involved, and maybe it's just me, but I cannot play this without looking securely. I don't feel safe here. I feel stressed. So I picked the small sections where I play 2 or 3 notes that I can play securely without looking, and I take this time to look at my left hand to get in the right position. And this is here. So as soon as my eyes are still here and my hands are hovering over the black key, and as soon as I have the black key, I look at my left hand and bring it in the direction of the G here, somewhere. It doesn't have to be necessarily over the G. If it is, it's perfect. If it is not, if it's just like here or here, I still have time to adjust at a second spot. But this is so important to get into the vicinity of the G. If you're here, you're lost. So eyes still on the right side, eyes on the left side. Then I can play this, and then I have, after the F sharp, I have 2 notes where I can adjust, and then I need to look again, and then we have this. What happens when I'm too late is like this. Okay, so make sure you do before 1 bar before you play the note. Your hand has to be here. And then we have this one here. Be accurate with the length of the notes, with the note values. It is 4 notes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and you go out, so that the top note can ring on its own. It's not harmonic, it stands on its own. And this is also the note where the melody line goes. So this is like the climax here. Then the same thing again, and the climax is on the bottom note. So make sure you go out with this note. Then we have these tiny little footprints, taps. They are piano, very important. So there's a dynamic change, a different color. And these ones here, they are not really staccato, but they are like, you know, it's like a cat walking on the notes. So it's a bit like dipping something in, and then it gives a different sound to what we had before. This is forte again, so we have the contrast. And again here, the 4th note, you go out with the left hand. Then again, piano. And dipping. Then the same thing in F minor. And with F minor, I suggest you practice these downward broken chord shapes. The right fingering is 5 when you have the big gap, the bigger stretch between 5 and 2, between the first top notes, and that is 4, 2, 1 with the other ones. Make sure that your left hand is not staying in the key. So it's not harmonic. Again, it is one note at a time. Piano. This note already piano. Forte. Practice hands separate, because there is a finger change and this is a little bit awkward at first. So it's a 2, 3, 5, 1. So where you have 2 finger was, it's now the 1 finger. The sum, and then 4, 3, 2, 1, 3. And I need to look at my right hand, so I do this, the movement from here to there without looking, which is not so difficult because it's just 1 note up. Also, I can play left hand without looking because your fingers lay in the right position already. So just trust that this is your 5-finger position and your index finger and your thumb are in the right position. You do not have to look here. So you can play everything with looking on your right hand to make sure you hit the right notes. Now I look on my left just to make sure that I grab the octave correctly. And then we have the trill, and I practiced it at first with 3, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, and it felt a little heavy and clumsy and not regular. So my thumb was too loud, and the elevation here, the distance with the higher black key, it really threw me off. Plus I mishit the next notes that are coming, because usually I was playing like this, and then I stroke the A instead of the G, because this is not the regular position. So what I did, and I find this really helps, is after this one here, I slide down with my 3rd finger and I play the trill with 4 and 2. And then I'm in the right position already, and the chances are much lower that I press the wrong key. Then again, we have this dipping in here, which I cannot do very well yet. It's piano, piano, forte, piano, forte, piano. So make sure you realize the dynamic changes and you play them as they are written, which usually I don't. Piano, I'm dipping in, forte, crescendo, because this is the absolute climax of the whole piece. And now there's another spot where we need to know when to look at our left hand and to find the right note. And this is the most difficult for me, because we didn't have very much time. So we have this here, and then this arpeggio starts. And here it is really good to practice this arpeggio to be able to play without looking at your hand. The more secure you really can be sure that you will press the E flat and not the E, so not switch to major, the more time you have to find your target note in the left hand. Usually I do not feel very secure here, so I played like this. Now I look left for these 2 notes only, or for these 3 notes. Then I need to look right to make sure I hit the E flat. After I have it, I can have a tiny little glimpse back to double check if I'm at the right position. Then I have this one. Here again, with these 2 notes, I have a short second chance to double check if I'm right, because the first one was so short. And then I need to look at the right side to make sure I press the right notes. So it's like this. Eyes are right, eyes are left, I said right. I said left, right. I said left, right. I said right. These second chances where you can correct it, they are so tiny. If you are not really almost here or here, you do not have a chance to really adjust. It's such a short time, especially when you gain more speed. This little window that you have to look at your left hand, it's so tiny. I think it is really good to practice this, to be as secure as possible, so that when you don't look at your right hand, you have a high chance that by accident you press the right notes. The second thing is just make sure you practice this movement and to get a feel for the distance from here to there, so that also by practicing this several times, your chances are getting higher that you already land here and you do not have to adjust. That was quite good. And usually for me, it works perfectly fine when I'm practicing this separately. And as soon as I'm the whole piece, I mess up. Yeah, but I think this is part of the process. These were the most important things for me to remember on this piece. So number one, active fingertips. Number two, really plan what is coming next. Look ahead. Be prepared. Move your hand to the right position as soon as possible. And know when not to play a note, but already be in that position. It's kind of like playing silent notes. This is so important. Practice your hand movements. Practice when to look at which hand and which notes you should be able to play without looking, so that you have more time for your left hand to really find the target notes in the leaps. And to make sure that your dynamics are correct, because they are part of the overall experience. This piece is so even. There's so many notes, just, you know, like a hamster running. So these dynamic changes, they make the piece interesting. So make sure that you follow these instructions. You cannot gain speed until you know securely what is coming here. If you're still thinking about, oh, which note is coming, which one is the next chord, if there are still hesitations, do not try to gain speed. Just give it time so that your brain knows what is coming next, that you really securely have it memorized, and only then try to gain speed by setting the metronome marks +2, +2, +2 until you come to a limit. Also, usually the most editions, they say that this piece is to be played presto, which is ridiculous. I've listened to so many recordings and 90% of them sound horrible because they are so fast. It's like a race. It is like a competition who can play it faster, and this is not music. In my opinion, when we have it at 140, this is controllable for an intermediate player once you've practiced it for a while, and it already starts to sound beautiful. This is a nice tempo where it starts to get like, you know, you can hear the phrasings, you can hear the melody. It doesn't feel like a scale etude anymore. And probably 100 and I think 160 is the maximum. And this is per quaver, not per quarter note. Yeah, it feels already like my pulse is going up. But I think 160, this is really a very lovely tempo. So this is my target tempo, and I would be very happy if I could play it at this tempo with all the difficult spots. I'd be happy. It sounds like music. It's a beautiful piece. It's so much fun to play. So it is worth the practice. But don't mess it up by trying something like this. It's sloppy. It's not beautiful anymore. Ah, and I forgot one thing I wanted to mention, because my teacher mentioned it last time, and I know I will forget it because it's not my main focus point. This is probably really for my future self to remember. This is about this section here. He wants me to play these notes here like in the Baroque style. We very often have this when when we have these bigger jumps that we do not hold them together, but we separate them. And I find it difficult, really, because I'm so concentrated on what's going on in the right hand. Happy practicing. Also, happy practicing my future self.